Hi, folks. It's CJ Miller. I'm in Shreveport, Louisiana, across the Red River from beautiful Bossier City, Louisiana. Uh, yeah, come check this out. So, if I look really happy right now, it's because I am. I just was reading uh, that Ryan Murphy and Brad Falchuk's uh, production company, they are filming right now in New Jersey. Uh, Singular standalone episodes for their spin-off American Horror Stories, which is the spin-off to the flagship, or what they call the mothership, for these one-off episodes, which is American Horror Story, which is right now filming the 12th season, which is doing something that it hasn't done before, and it's taking its lead from a novel that is not even, I don't think it's been released yet. Uh, so I don't know how that's going to go. It's very different. The thing about American Horror Story is that each season it tells within about 9 to 13 episodes, give or take. Usually 10 episodes, but sometimes less, sometimes more. It will render a story that is pulled together and written from different points of view. And this one is kind of uh, a flip side of Rosemary's Baby. That's the upcoming season of American Horror Story that we know about. The subtitle is delicate, as in, she's in a delicate condition or whatever. Uh, so I don't know where we're going with that. I don't know if that's going to be the thread throughout the entire. That's the main uh, title. So I must assume that that is something that's an arc that's going to be over all the episodes. Um, but they're also filming American Horror Stories, plural, and these are like usually standalone episodes, and they air on Hulu, not on the FX network, but on Hulu. And yeah, it's like I've enjoyed them, and each episode they're standalone, and sometimes uh, they'll tie in. Uh, the first season, uh, there were 7 episodes. The second season, there were 8 episodes. And I hadn't heard if they were going to do a third season of American Horror Stories or not. I didn't really recall. Uh, I will say that the last season of American Horror Story, NYC, I didn't care for too much. Uh, Obviously, the writers um, uh, uh, sometimes use this program to work through their therapy. That's a good thing that horror does anyway. Entertainment in general can offer some escape, but horror, in particular, helps people. Or not even horror, but sometimes, thrillers or something like that, where there's like a bad guy, there is a definite contest between a good side and a bad side and everything. It's kind of like, it's a way of playing out in a realm of entertainment, uh, things that we would never do in real life, and so in that catharsis in our arts and everything, we get you know sometimes it's therapy, I think, because the topics that are being addressed, especially in that last season, where they were just like, that they wanted to draw a parallel, I believe, to I think everybody was like, coming off of the pandemic of COVID, and it was like, what could have been done had we had really, really taken uh, what was going on in the early 80s serious. Now, the first case of this uh, condition that they were telling the story showed up actually in the late 70s, like 78, 79, something like that. But nobody really knew, and nobody made a connection until the early 1980s. Uh, and it was they were calling it gay related immune deficiency, because nobody or gay related immune disease syndrome, deficiency syndrome, grids or whatever, because nobody knew what it was. They knew that it was popping up in the gay community because guys like sex, and you get guys who like guys, and we like sex. We don't really say no, so it really was kind of a free for all. And then, so with all that going on, uh, that and the needle sharing community, the injectable drug users and everything. Those are the things that we started seeing, and the sex workers and stuff like that. We started seeing those communities pop up with grids, and because it first popped up or first got noticed in the gay community, it just kind of got linked to that as a gay disease, and so nobody really paid attention to it or talked about it or addressed it until the mid 1980s. Like, I think my sixth grade year, my first year in middle school, I think people were talking about, hey, there's this thing out there called AIDS. You get it from having sex. So, but you guys are young. You're not going to be having sex anyway, but just be aware that it's out there, or whatever, and whatever, like, it was just kind of awareness, because we were just off of the herpes scare, and we were just off of the blah, 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 blah. But this is like, I was like, okay, this is one more thing. Hey, this is super serious. And, all that kind of stuff is treatable now. It's not even like it's treatable and preventable. It actually always was preventable with like safer practices and proper use of prophylactics and everything like that. But the education was not sufficient, so that you have it's just, it was what it was. I'm not going to give a whole history about HIV right now. I'm very, very glad that I got through it, that whole like 80s and 90s, and came through it HIV negative. And it's basically because some time ago, like in my late teens, my early adulthood, I got in trouble, and I had to do some community service, and I did my community service at a local resource center that in the area that services people with HIV. It's a local charity called the Philadelphia Center, and I remember seeing that up close and firsthand. It really was kind of a awakening to the situation as it was at the time. And it was like, oh, well, you know what? Yes, I will have fun, but it will be safe, clean fun. And actually, that's, still my motto. But anyway, never mind that. I saw it was so because of the realness of the last season of American Horror Story, give or take. There was some allegory. There was a figure that kind of like masqueraded as a serial killer in a black leather hoodie or something like that, and he would show up and somebody would be dead. It was more like he was more. That was more like he was representing the specter of this disease being called, really wasn't being called anything at the time, you know. Uh, anyway, so there was that, and there was some, you know, uh, some connections to the people as they got close to death. They had like some common intuition. You know, there was something like that. But you know, that's not uncommon anyway. That happens in real life. You know, like if a bunch of people live around, say, a mountain community and the mountain's about to erupt or something like that, you know, they can sort of, there's an uneasiness that gets talked about, you know, like we had a sense or something like that, you know, you pick up on things like that, you know. You can, it's changes, and it's not really a psychic thing, it's really a change in the earth, you know. The barometric pressure, the way the ground feels, and everything like those little minute things that do not get noticed consciously, but on a subconscious level, uh, you know, we kind of understand, hey, you know, something's going to happen. We just feel it, and then when a bunch of people have that feeling, it's probably going to happen, and then you get this uh, crazy shadowy figure sometimes, like the Mothman. Uh, in the Northeast, you know, I'm really surprised, and that's something that they maybe should cover at American Horror Story. Maybe I can uh, throw that out next time they're asking for suggestions. The Mothman, you know, every once in a while they'll troll the interwebs looking for suggestions. They haven't done the Mothman yet, um, but so we get, like with the American Horror Story, we get a complete story each season, and then with the American Horror Stories, we get individual stories. Now, the first and the second part, they were a two-part episode in that first season of American Horror Stories, and it echoed back to the first season, and then let me think, because I can almost recall in my head. No, 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 no. And then all the way back to the seventh episode of that first season, that it also addresses uh, the first episode in sort of a meta sort of way, where it's, you know, it's kind of like it kind of references it in a big way, but doesn't necessarily tie into Murder House, but it addresses like the fandom of the show, you know, the fans, and they create a game of the show and everything like that. And so it's kind of like the whole episode is kind of like them inside of a game playing a game, you know. uh, it's cute, but you know, you know, I don't take it serious, and I don't actually think of it as canon or a part of the story or anything that's actually happened, because it was a game, you know, it was a plot of a game. Anyway, but then, so I don't really notice too much. Um, then there was a tie-in the second season. The first episode tied into Coven, because the character of Spaulding gets addressed from that first episode, but I don't necessarily know too many other tie-ins. Some of the shows, like I say, will tie into the main show, American Horror Story. Some of the singular American Horror Stories will tie into it. I'm just really excited. I'm just talking in circles and rounds about it and everything. And thank God I got off that whole last season. That's, you know, it's an important topic to talk about, but you know, and I know that it can be a good vehicle. I think it was just letting people know, hey, you know, remember when there was an epidemic that really reached pandemic levels, but nobody really gave a damn, you know, because it was people who were not living morally to the standards of everybody, you know. Yeah, it was heavy, and so I watch these things because they're fun, they're entertaining, they're escapism. And then every once in a while, I get thrown a curveball like that last season, that season 12. And then there was a season 7, Cult. It was about Cult. And it was about a cult who had taken rise in a in a modern political zeitgeist of uh, the Trump election, Trump versus Hillary, and that was kind of like the catalyst. And it was like, oh my God, I just lived through a year and a half of this campaigning, and now we got this, and this is too real. So there were 2 times when I felt that those are my two. They didn't turn out to be like unlikable, but just a little bit too real and on the nose for me. I just those are, I like the ones where they don't. I mean, I love a good realistic story, but I don't necessarily need a documentary of the life that I'm involved in being told through fictional characters. I don't need that kind of realism. Just tell me some fictional stories, but tell them to me realistically. And that's normally what they do. That's normally what they do. They normally don't get so heavy. I'm willing to bet after such a heavy season, they'll go a little lighter. You know, but from my perspective, I mean that was heavy material last season on American Horror Story, and this season they're addressing pregnancy and expectant motherhood and everything, and so maybe that's gonna be heavy for mothers, like so maybe it's a matter of perspective, Anyway, these shows are great. I'm really excited. Yay. Okay, I'm gonna stop being weird now. Love you guys. Have a good night.